The details now. The National Blood Transfusion Service says stock at the Kolebu Blood Bank has drastically dwindled. A statement from the National Blood Transfusion Service said the fall in stock makes it imperative for more blood donations by the public. It says the current stock level stands at 62 processed units of blood against the daily requirement of 200 units of blood needed to serve the over 50 hospitals in the Accra catchment area. The Blood Transfusion Service, the shortage arose from an increased demand for blood during the Christmas holidays, putting unusual pressure on the stock levels. The Kolebu Blood Bank is therefore appealing to individual voluntary donors, corporate organizations and institutions to help donate blood at the center to save the situation. Head of the Accra Area Blood Center is Dr. Paul Mensah. He's on the phone line now. Good afternoon, Dr. Paul Mensah.
Good afternoon, Stephen.
It's great to have you. Now, do Ghanaians really donate voluntarily? I mean, what do we expect the response to be if we're calling on them to go out and volunteer to donate blood?
Yes, the answer to the question is that, yes, Ghanaians do donate voluntarily, and it's just that it's not a lot of people who have embraced the idea, because we need just 1% of the population to donate on a regular basis, say even once a year. And if we have fallen stock levels and if we have inadequate blood supply, then it means that even that 1% is not being met. That means even 1% of the population is not donating voluntarily. Because of that, we've had to operate a system where people only come and donate only when their relatives need blood or their friends need blood, and this does not augur well for the adequacy and safety of blood.
Now, I'm curious, because I remember the last time I donated blood, I was giving Milo, milk and other things to replenish and then some money. I want to understand whether this really is necessary or is a good incentive for people to want to go and donate. The idea that people donate to get something of commercial value world over is being phased out. In fact, the WHO says that all blood collections and all blood donations should be voluntary, because I'm sure you remember that when you go through the process, there are some sensitive questions in the medical questionnaire that we ask. And when people are donating blood because of commercial reasons, they do not play truthful to all these things, that the information that we need. And these are very important, because blood donation is not just about the person who is donating. We need to think about the person who is also receiving the blood. So as much as possible, we say that commercial donors, family replacement donors are not the ideal kind of donors. Anybody who has to donate blood because he's expecting something of expecting cash or a cash substitute is not the right kind of donor. Blood donors should do it voluntarily, and we are calling on the public, especially in these crucial times, that look, donate blood. You talked about the figures, 62 units of blood as at yesterday, and the deficit is there for everybody to see. That means lives being lost, and it is quite unnecessary. As a nation, we need to rise up and embrace the idea of blood donation so that people don't unnecessarily lose their lives. The truth is that when there are adequate blood stocks, it serves all of us, because we never know when we will be the next people who might need a blood transfusion, or we never know when our loved ones will need a blood transfusion. Right. So Doc, give us a better understanding of exactly what contributed to the drop in the stock level? I mean, I know that from the statements we've read, it was due to the Christmas. But what exactly about the Christmas New Year holiday would make the national blood stock level dwindle?
The National Blood Service collects blood from voluntary donors, and you'd appreciate that these donors are found in educational institutions, corporate institutions, faith-based organizations, churches, mosques, etc. Now, everybody realizes that during the Christmas festivities, a lot of organizations are on break, and so it puts some strain on our blood recruitment efforts. Because a lot of people's attention is drawn away to the festivities rather than blood donation. So the panels themselves that have to be donate blood are not readily available to do that. Coupled with that, the second reason is that unfortunately during the Christmas festivities we do also experience a lot of accidents, be domestic, but especially road traffic accidents. That places a huge burden of blood demand. So as a service, we recognize this, and it's not only in Ghana that these things happen. Across the world, you realize that all blood services struggle to meet their blood demands during December and January. But we try to beef up our blood supplies before the Christmas festivities kicked in. If you would remember, there was a program we dubbed Accra Goes Red, and that was all in line to make sure that we...
So, Doc, I need to understand whether this beef up you're talking about did not help in shoring up the stock level for you to run out beginning of the year.
Initially, but it didn't. As we can see now, we've run short again because it takes people a rather long time to come out of the... So for December, it helped. We were not short of blood. But in January, unfortunately, a lot of donors still haven't started coming to donate yet. So that's where it leaves us. But I want Ghanaians to understand that, look, it is our responsibility. Unfortunately, the blood service cannot make blood. The blood service does not manufacture blood. Blood is required. When blood is required, it demands that another individual, another person donates the blood. We only have the mandate to ensure the collection and the adequate testing of the blood. But if despite several educational attempts and blood recruitment attempts, the response from the public is poor, that's where it leaves us.
Right. So, I mean, is there anything specific that the blood bank is putting in place in terms of measures to shore up? I mean, you've mentioned a lot about voluntary donors, but do you have a strategy, a particular plan to ensure that you will replenish the stock? Yes,
and part of some people may think that perhaps it's a knee-jerk reaction, but I don't think so. Right now, we need to save lives, and I think the most important thing that we need now is, and that's what the media is doing, and I thank you very much for it, but people have to know that, look, come and donate blood. Walk into the Kolebu Blood Center or any nearest hospital within Accra or across the regional hospitals in the country and work in as a voluntary blood donor, because we need people to respond to this urgent call right now.
Thank you very much, Dr. Paul Mensah. It's from the Blood Bank at Kolebu. You're watching News Today. Members of the Adenta Municipal Assembly are alleging the immediate past Municipal Chief Executive, Kakra Van Leer, authorized last Monday's demolition. They're also claiming the plan to construct a business center on the aviation land has changed from the original remote sensing receiving station. We spoke to Gladys from Adenta Municipal Assembly. Presiding member and former MC Kakra Van Leer has declined to comment on the issue.
As an assembly, we also need to know about this with the government state. And that was an unfortunate event. It didn't come to the assembly. Having said that, I think the Assembly has taken a decision that, well, we think the process is, or the process in getting that plan or layout was not too exhaustive. And so we asked that the layout goes back to the Strategic Planning Committee. Let it go through the process. Let's get stakeholders to make input to the plan, and then we can endorse by the Assembly, and then they can go on with their work. Let me also state that the Assembly is not saying the land is for us. We know the land is not for us. The land is for aviation, and by extension, it's for government. But when it comes to the redevelopment of that place, the Assembly needs to vote, so we need to approve the plan. Having said that, we hope very soon the Strategic Planning Committee, chaired by the regional minister, will be meeting very soon. And then to go through the process again, we hope to see it approved.
Well, a Daewoo vehicle was this morning burnt into ashes on the N1 highway here in Accra. There were 4 people in the car, but all of them escaped unhurt. The cause of the fire is not known yet. According to eyewitnesses, it took personnel of the fire service about an hour to get to the scene after distress calls were made by some eyewitnesses. The vehicle was traveling at top speed when it exploded and caught fire. The fire service personnel arrived at the scene when the car had been burnt to ashes already. Occupants of the car were shocked and said they had not noticed any leakage or fuel or anything that suggested the car could catch fire. Fire personnel have begun investigations into the fire.
The car was moving on very well and it got stopped. After stopping, the fire just set ablaze by the car, and the driver and the passengers were struggling out to come out. And after that, as they come out, that's where first all of them has gone out. So after that, after coming out, that's where we started begging for a fire extinguisher to quench the fire. So after that, we couldn't make any effort of quenching the fire. So this is the result of all the things that has happened.
Does it mean that the driver didn't have a fire extinguisher in his car?
Yeah, he didn't have the fire extinguisher, because at first how the thing started first with a little fire. How the thing started with a little fire. He didn't have the like he should have, if like he has the extinguished fire, he would have quenched the fire for a long time. So he didn't have the extinguisher, and we went in and begged for more. And as we begged for more, it would not go. We didn't finish.
So how many passengers were
there were 4. None of them got hurt.
So where is the driver?
The driver, he escaped. We don't know where he is.
How many hours did it take before the passengers?
Pardon?
How many hours did it take before the passengers?
Authorities of the cocoa marketing company are yet to increase the wages of loading boys at the cocoa warehouse at Apoa near Takrady in the western region. The loading boys are demanding an increase in wages and have withdrawn their services, resulting in hundreds of bags of cocoa beans getting rotten, while over 2,000 drivers and their mates are stranded at the warehouse.
Most of the stranded drivers and their mates keep themselves busy by working on their trucks and rearranging sacks of cocoa to separate the rotten ones from the good ones. The drivers are threatening to embark on a demonstration or resort to smuggling the beans out of the country. Over 1,600 trucks loaded with cocoa beans are currently stuck outside the main warehouse, whilst the warehouses remain empty as a result of the refusal of the loading boys to offload the trucks due to poor wages and working conditions. The loading boys, according to sources, are paid 10 pesos for each sack of cocoa beans they offload from the trucks, and they are demanding an increase to 1 cedi or 50 pesos. The loading boys claim they work in an unhygienic environment, have no bathroom with poor access to potable water sources at the warehouse. Some of the drivers have spent close to 2 months at the premises, but they are yet to be attended to. Meetings held between authorities of the cocoa marketing company, the drivers and the loading boys are yet to yield any positive result. Joynews again gathered that the loading boys have resolved to start working only when authorities agree to their demands. Authorities of the cocoa marketing company have promised to resolve the confusion by Friday, January 10, 2014. A driver, Leo Dixon Usuansa, sat in the meeting with the authorities.
Umuhia ansana omaswa kukunu ntiema empanifo no nam se nyama bibiri won ma no munti krada ntie yomo hawa ntiema ye de be se bufo na abanchiti se omo brebre omo dwudwu nkofo na koma ema omo ba fom nti omo ni careers fo no empanifo ni bi ekasai enom ka sanete dia omo dia ko down TUC fo nti TUC fo no meji omo giremu omo ni person careers na akasa.
Another driver who has been stranded for almost 2 months confirmed that some of his cocoa beans are getting rotten. The loading boys have resolved not to work until their working conditions are improved and their wages increased to 1 cedi or 50 pesos. William Benjamin Peters report from the Western region.
Well, we have on the line our Western regional correspondent, William Benjamin Peters. William, it's great to have you here.
Yeah, Steve.
Yes, quickly, can you give us an update on this development in Epoa?
Yeah, thank you very much, Stephen. Unfortunately, the situation remains the same. There hasn't been any improvement. The information I have is that the officials of the cocoa marketing company who promised meeting the drivers as well as the loading boys yesterday failed to show up. And as a result, the drivers and their mates are still stranded at the warehouse waiting for the authorities. But what they told me is that they think we are about to enter the weekend. So officially, they will just give them up to Monday. They will just give them up to Monday. And failure for the authorities to show up will incur their wrath, and definitely they will embark on another demonstration on Monday. And also the information I've gathered is that they are already in the process of writing officially to the police to inform them of their intended demonstration, which they hope to embark on by Monday should authorities of the cocoa marketing company fail to show up.
And so, Benjamin Peters, tell us, what is their current situation now? If you've been able to get in touch with them, I mean, are they still in the same situation, not having access to basic amenities and things, and, you know? Yeah,
Steve, like I told you earlier on, the situation remains the same. You know, the warehouse is a bit away from the main community of Atani, and the water that they are relying on is just a little borehole that I was shown yesterday. So they either have the option of traveling to the community by foot to have access to the potable water, or they have to depend on that borehole in the premises of the warehouse. Apart from that, there isn't any place for them to urinate or like they expressed themselves yesterday. So that is the situation they are in. And it's like the whole place is a bit far from the community. So either have the option of traveling to Atani or traveling all the way to Tokra, which is quite a distance, to have access to either food or water. That is the situation.
Peters is our correspondent there in the Western region. This is News Today. My name is Stephen Antia. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Joynews Today. Major expansion works at the Tema port will cost the country $2.5 billion. Officials say the expansion to be financed with loans from partners is necessary to accommodate the increasing volumes of cargo trucking and enhance efficiency at the Tema port. Joynews' Adelaide Arthur has more.
The 5-phase major expansion project will open up the Tema port with additional berthing facilities to offload specific cargoes such as vegetables and fruits, dry and liquid products, transit goods, containers, as well as oil rig repair facilities. At the moment, only 12 berths where vessels rest to offload goods are available at the port. The Marketing and Public Affairs Manager, Paul Asari Ansah, explains expansion is needed to facilitate operations at the port.
We will be doing a lot of reclamation works, we'll be doing a lot of revetment, we'll be doing a lot of dredging works, construction of breakwaters, and then deepening the access channels to about 16 meters. We are inviting companies that have the ability to construct the facilities. And then we are asking them to come with partners who have the financial strength to support the construction. So more or less they are leading us to prospective financiers.
According to him, bidding for construction works will open this month, with the contract expected to be awarded in 2014. In the meantime, minor rehabilitation is ongoing to enhance operations, including free movement of goods in and out of the port. Joy News observed optical character recognition cameras have been installed at all the gates. The automation of the gates, according to Paul Asari Ansah, is to boost security. The port has meanwhile taken delivery of 2 new cranes, with 2 more to arrive later. Unlike the 4 existing cranes that are partly owned by the port and other private companies, the new cranes belong to the Tema port. Behind me are the 2 new cranes currently being assembled. They've been named after 2 employees who are considered as role models, Kofi Asamoah and Andy Asari. I understand they were purchased at a cost of 9.2 million euros, and they are really going to facilitate the discharge of cargo at the port, I'm told.
These are versatile cranes that can pick both containers and general cargo. Now, one has the ability to pick about 20 containers in an hour. But then we also bought some accessories. We have twin spreaders that can pick 2 containers at a go. So instead of 20, we'll be able to pick 40 containers within an hour.
The PR manager tells Joy News the total vehicle import for 2013 was slightly less than figures for 2012.
As at October 2013, we've been able to handle 54,200 vehicles. I'm talking about cars, mini vehicles, utility vehicles, and trailer units. Yes. Compared to last year, as at December, we were able to handle about 68,000.
Okay.
Yeah, so 2013, we expect that by the time we finish with the December statistics and add to it, we'll be handling about 65,000 cars, which is about 3,000 lower than what we handled in 2012.
Documents available to Joy News also indicate the total cargo traffic, including imports, exports and transits at the port, increased by 4.6% in 2013.
Well, let's do some business now. A total of 2,466,328 shares had traded so far in the week on the Ghana Stock Exchange, with the sales value amount to 3,672,625.13. With me now to analyze this performance is David Odoidankwa, who is research analyst from Gold Coast Fund Management. David, it's great to have you here. So give us an explanation. I know that many people will not understand the figures. Give us an explanation of what the figures say.
I'll just give explanation of it, but as we've been doing always, I want us to just educate our listeners or our viewers on some of the happenings on the stock market. before I start explaining the figures. As we all know, the year has just started, and when I start explaining the figures that you just mentioned, you see that the Ghana stock market is really picking up and giving very good returns. So people at home might be asking, so how do I get to the Ghana Stock Exchange? It's a lesson that we did somewhere last year, but I just want to give them a recap of it, a summary of it, that they first need to know the goals of the money or what they want to use the money for. They need to get a broker, and you can they can get in touch with Gold Fund Management, and we will also help them. And once they get there, they get an investment advisor, and that person will help them to go through. So then, coming back to the performance on the Ghana stock market, the stock market, as we analyze getting to close of the year, that we expect it to just pick up when the year starts again in 2014, and that is what we are seeing, because you can see the market year to date has recorded about 2.13%. That's the composite index, and the financial index also recording about 3.72% year to date. So that meaning that from the day the market started up to now, the market has yielded this much to investors. And one most interesting thing about the stock market in 2014 is, since the market started, with the exception of the first day that the market was flat, that no stock moved, we've seen the both the composite and the financial index yielding to investors from the second day of trading up to yesterday. So we are looking what is going to happen. But looking at the market as a whole, as we said, the market capitalization has also increased marginally from about 61 million Ghana, 61,480.48 million to about 62,137.86 million. You can see the market capitalization within this short period, that is Monday up to now, has increased marginally, and this is a sign that the stock market is doing well. So on the average, we will say the market is doing well. And
but which stocks drove this rise in the market capitalization?
Interestingly, one thing that is happening on the stock market that I love this time around, we used to have some traditional stocks that are really good on the stock market. You talk about the Farmer, you talk about Guinness Ghana, you talk about those big stocks, driving the market. But this year, we've had a blend of them, as in SPL. We've had some of the small stocks that people don't even consider, or the stocks with local content, they driving the market. And anytime we have such stocks driving the market, first and foremost, is good for the stock exchange, and it's also good for the Ghanaian economy, because any improvement that they make, they are just keeping all the returns in the country. So that is a very good thing.
And what appears to be the outlook for the week?
I'm looking for the outlook for the week. As I said earlier on, the market, we are expecting it to continue yielding. Maybe the market will be yielding, and the only thing that might be a hindrance to it is the current economic situation in the country. The depreciation of the cedi, as you can see, is really taking out most of the returns on the market, and this is a phenomenon that really drives away foreign investors onto the Ghana Stock Exchange. So once we get all these indicated very good, then we are assured that the Ghana Stock Exchange will continue here. But notwithstanding it, looking for the outlook for Ghana Stock Exchange is very good, and investors should be looking forward for a yielding market next week.
Thank you very much, David Odoye. David Odoye is research analyst of the Gold Coast Fund Management, and Ghana is set to host the offices of the new ECOWAS shipping line. The new ECOWAS shipping line is to help facilitate the movement of goods and services within the ECOWAS sub-region. The Deputy Minister of Trade and Industry, Lante van der Poel, indicated the new shipping line will prevent the goods meant for countries in the sub-region being shipped to Europe first before they are reshipped to the country of destination.
Goods and services earmarked for the sub-region countries have to be shipped through Europe due to the fact that the sub-region has no shipping line. This has inconvenienced importers and businesses who are compelled to pay more for freight due to this. The Deputy Trades Minister, Lante van der Poel, who was addressing participants at the 39th Annual General Meeting of the Ghana Chamber of Commerce and Industry, said this will be over soon.
If you are shipping something from Nigeria to Ghana, the thing has to go to the ship, the commodities and the products have to go to Europe before coming down. Other than that, you have to use road. And the difficulties we have at our entry points in other countries, especially Ghana, for that one, I would say Ghana, we've done so well. Sometimes, if somebody is bringing foodstuffs, for example, he stays for days and for weeks at the borders, and you end up losing some of the properties. So, All these things are limitations to businesses, and we hope that this year will iron out these differences.
He spoke about government plans to establish a second industrial hub in Takoradi to help open up investments to the country.
Government is also committed to building the second industrial hub in the Western region. And this will also help in the effective exchange of ideas and collaboration between you and other businesses and other markets.
The president of the Ghana Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Seth Ejeba, challenged government to implement policies aimed at revamping the country's economy.
The myriad of challenges militating against the private sector in Ghana, that is difficulty in accessing long-term credit, high cost of credit, unreliable supply of utilities at reasonable price, poor infrastructure, high taxes, but just to mention a few, are well documented.
The Minister of State in charge of private sector development, Rashid Pelpo, promised a positive outlook for the private sector in 2014. The Ghana Chamber of Commerce and Industry is an association of business operators, firms and industries set up to promote commercial and industrial interests within the country. The chamber has a vision to provide leadership for growth and prosperity of businesses in the country.
And China has claimed that it is very likely it overtook the U.S. as the world's top trading nation, a title the United States has held for decades. According to the latest data, China's total trade grew at an annual rate of 7.6% to $4.16 trillion last year. The U.S. is yet to release its full-year figures, but its trade for the first 11 months of 2013 totaled $3.5 trillion. China became the world's biggest goods exporter in 2009. Its imports have also risen amid an expansion in its economy. The U.S. is scheduled to release its full-year figures next month. And Volkswagen's luxury brands Porsche, Audi and Bentley have posted record sales helped by new model launches and a recovery in the global market. Porsche's deliveries jumped 15%, Audi's 8.3% and Bentley posted a growth of 19% in 2013 from a year earlier. Demand for luxury cars has been growing in emerging markets such as China and India amid rising income levels. Car makers have also benefited from a recovery in demand from the US, one of the biggest markets for luxury cars. Audi's sales jumped 13.5% in the US during the period from a year ago, while Porsche saw a growth of 21%. Bentley's deliveries in the US rose by 28%. Sports is up next and is brought to you by Tigo. Welcome back to Sports on today's News Today. The 2014 edition of the African Nations Champions Tournament starts on January 11 and runs to February 1st. The tournament is reserved for the best national teams of Africa, exclusively featuring players who are active in their respective national leagues and qualified to play in the ongoing season. And President of the Ghana Football Association, Kwesi Nyantechi, is hopeful Ghana will lift a trophy.
I look forward to a good performance this time around. We are candidates to the championship, winning the championship, and I'm very hopeful that we'll win. We've had a good team, best players from our domestic league who have been in camp for some time now. Maxwell Kunedu has done a good job transforming the team through the WAFU competition up to this time, and we are very hopeful. We are praying for the team to excel at this competition. Talking to Maxwell, the coach, and he's assured me that things are shaping up. So we pray that things really shape up.
Manchester City and Ivory Coast midfielder Yaya Toure has been named the Confederation of African Football CAF Footballer of the Year. It is a third straight title for Toure, who also won December's BBC African Footballer of the Year award.
CAF Awards was a spectacle of colour and movement, with dances and acrobatic displays entertaining those in attendance. Continental musical superstars like Nigerian D'banj and South African Lira performed for the global audience. After a welcome message from CAF President Issa Hayatu, a moving tribute was paid to former South African statesman Nelson Mandela. On to the awards themselves, and first up was the National Team of the Year award, and that went to CAF Africa Cup of Nations champions, Nigeria. The Nigeria Under-17 team took the award for the Best Youth International Team of the Year after winning the 2013 Under-17 World Cup crown. In the Club of the Year category, Orlando Pirates were up against Egyptian giants Al Ahly, who recently beat them in the African Champions League final, and Tunisian club CS Sfaxien, the Confederation Cup champions. In the end, Al Ahly took the award. The winner of the Coach of the Year award was Nigeria coach Stephen Keshi, after guiding his nation to the Africa Cup of Nations crown. The final award was the one everyone had been waiting for. In the running were Chelsea's John Obi Mikel, who'd never won the Continental Award before. He was pitted against former winners of the prestigious award, former teammate Didier Drogba, and current holder of the award, another Ivorian, Yaya Toure.
The winner is Yaya Toure.
Toure won his third CAF Footballer of the Year award in a row.
And West Brom has appointed former Real Betis manager Pepe Mel as new head coach on an 18-month deal. The Premier League club has been looking for a new manager since sacking Steve Clarke on December 14. Spaniard Mel, 50, held talks with West Brom in December, but was initially ruled out after it became clear he wanted to bring his own backroom staff. He will now work with Buggy's assistant head coach Keith Downing and goalkeeper coach Dean Keeley. Currently ranked the #1 female tennis player in the world, and on Thursday, Serena Williams showed off the athletic prowess that helped her to get to the top as she indulged in a game of cricket on the rooftop of the Olsen Hotel in Melbourne, joined by her older sister, Venus, 33. The siblings had a ball alongside members of the Melbourne Renegades cricket team.
Prepared with some rooftop cricket at the Big Bash game at the MCG. The great Matthias Muralitharan was also there to bowl a couple of deliveries their way.
I just hit it as hard as I could and see what happened. But the bat was heavy. I mean, we don't play cricket. It's not our sport, but we were excited to come out and try with some players. I think Serena may have been a little bit better, but I don't know. It's what happens when you're world #1. I think you're just good at everything.
Well, you certainly did both have a good swing. Do you think it's a nice warm-up for the Open?
I think so, feeling loose. We had a few nerves, but we got through it, so that's great for the first round nerves, right?
That's it for sports, brought to you by Tigo. Joined on the line again now by Dr. Vladimir Nchidan. So it's great to have you here, sir.
Thank you.
Now, the situation in the Central African Republic is a bit worrying. Would you say the resignation of Jatoda, President Jatoda, is not a good sign?
I wouldn't say it's a good sign. In actual fact, it was to be expected since the rebels are multiplying in their form, and it has turned on to a kind of national disaster where there is nobody in control. And so his resignation is not any signal to the effect that we're going to see any kind of stability soon. There is need for more action, for international action, in order to bring some kind of sanity to the Central African Republic.
Right. Now, the violence continues despite the presence of French and African peacekeepers. Are these peacekeepers going to do enough to curb the attacks? And does the resignation of Jatoda makes it any easier?
There is need for bringing all the warring factions to the table, for each grievance to be heard and analyzed. If we begin to support any one faction against the other, which the international community is quick to do at times, we'll be doing ourselves injustice there. I strongly suspect that what is needed is to bring all the warring factions to the round table and for them to really bring their grievances for a solution to be found. There's need to force the peace first. the international intervention should force the peace, make sure that they fight any rebel group which is not ready to lay down their tools. After we lay down their tools, then we bring them to the table and start jaw-jawing, and that's what I think will solve the problem over there.
I know you've spoken extensively on the South Sudan issue. The reports we have are that talks have stalled over the rebel demand to release political prisoners. And is this indecision of both sides to agree on what to do with the political prisoners a good sign or a bad sign for the situation in Sudan?
Well, let us not say hooray yet. It's not yet hurrah. The rebels are bent on capturing most of the oil-rich areas. And in actual fact, the oil-rich areas are in the hands of the rebels. The government is trying to take back the city of Bor, and they are just 15 kilometers away from that city. I think the visit of the North Sudan or Sudan's president, if anything to go by, it's a positive sign in the sense that he has an interest in the sense that if he's able now to cooperate with the president of South Sudan, then the problem of the oil and that, it's like, I think he's going to use that as a bargaining chip on the question of Abiy and other issues related to their relationship. And so sending 900 so-called technicians, which I believe are going to be military personnel, is a good sign. And I strongly suspect that an onslaught on those areas and kicking away the rebels will be something also very good. I believe, again, here, we don't have to wait. Bringing stability to South Sudan is very, very, very important because other than that, it's going to be a heaven for all kinds of groups of people. Al-Qaeda, Al-Shabaab, and that kind of thing will always conglomerate over the place and make the world unstable.
Now, President Bashir last Monday held talks in Juba with Salva Kiir. He says that Khartoum will not support the rebel. What can Khartoum do to help the situation as the South gained independence some 3 years ago?
We'll come again with the last part of your question. What would...
I'm asking what Khartoum would do, seeing that the South gained independence just some 3 years ago.
The line is quite bad. But if I understood you, you wanted to know what the implications of that meeting would be. Yes, as I said earlier on, the implications are far-reaching, very important meeting. It's an assurance that they've gotten some support from the North. That would annoy the rebels, obviously, because they were together in fighting the North. But that is in politics. There's nothing you can do. That's real politics. And I believe if North Sudan is able to help quell the process over there, then it will be a bargaining chip. It will be something that will help in normalizing the relationship between the South and the North. And I believe al-Bashir knew this, and he intentionally wanted to help the South Sudanese get some sort of stability, and then they could continue their talk, especially where Abiy is concerned. And the oil revenues and the piping and things like that are all concerned.
Thank you very much, Dr. Vladimir Enchidanso, and that's it for international news. And now showbiz. In showbiz, Emmanuel Nanapia Boating, also known as Kontinghine, is set to tie the knot with his longtime girlfriend, Dossier. This is coming soon after celebrating his birthday and a successful release of his 5th studio album recently.
Never say die, never say die, never say die till the bones are rotting. You may ever say chaka chaka chaka. Mufana ne pai bone chaka sakasa. Nimo, I what I told Puma. Ferrari your white chip one of Puma, making a big deal some more in the Puma.
Goodness and mercy shall follow you all the days of your life. So says the Holy Bible. And this is exactly the situation of the Ghanaian hip life artist, known for his use of rich folk, idiom, metaphors, and poetry. According to reports by the NYDJLife.com, the two lovebirds who have been dating for a long time back in the United States of America will tie the knot in Sunyani on the 18th of January 2014. Kontinghine, who is well noted for his songs such as Efe, Madame Fopabeko, Nkomode, Rekpete, and many more can't help but be grateful to the Almighty for his numerous blessings upon his life. Showbiz wishes him all the best in his marriage.
Well, that's it for the news on Joynews Today. My name is Stephen Anti, and before we go a wrap, the headlines. National Blood Transfusion Service says stock at the Kolebu Blood Bank has drastically dwindled, and China's total trade grew at an annual rate of 7.6% to $4.1 trillion last year. And in foreign news, Central African Republic interim president Michel Jotodia resigns after weeks of religious clashes. My name is Stephen Anti, and that's it for Joynews Today.